Assalamu alaikum everyone. Once again, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, the topic which I am going to explain you is regarding the protein polypeptide structure. Actually, the nature has classified the protein into different structure levels, and by the formations of those structures, the proteins are diversified to perform different functions in our body. So let's start our lecture. First of all, it is the primary structure of the protein. So primary structure actually determines the sequence of amino acid, actually the linear sequence of the amino acids which are joined by the peptide bonds. So what are the peptide bond? Peptide bond actually joins the amino acid to form the or maintain the linear sequence of the amino acids. So to explain the peptide bond, I would like to give the example of the valyl alanine compound, which actually explains us the peptide bond. So making the structure of the valyl alanine. First of all, I would like to make the structure of valine. You can see this is the valine compound. This is the valine. And now I would like to draw the alanine compound. So this is the valine, this is the alanine. So this is the negative carboxylic group and this is the positive amide group. These will combine together to form the peptide bond, which is actually the C double bond or NH linkage. So we will show here that how the peptide bond is formed. So you can say this is the peptide bond. And you can see also the free charge groups on both sides. This is the free amino group at this side, at the left side, and this is the negative carboxylic group at the right side. So these are the free charge group present on both sides, and this is the peptide bond which actually maintains the linear sequence of the amino acid, and you can say ultimately the primary structure of the protein. Now I would like to discuss the characteristics of the peptide bond. That what are the characteristics of the peptide bond? So talking about the first characteristic of the peptide bond, it is the characteristic that it possesses the partial double bond feature. It means that the bond is shorter than the single bond and it is rigid and planar. It has a rigid and planar structure. So partial double bond feature it possesses. First characteristic of the peptide bond. Features of peptide bond. Partial double bond characteristics. So the bond is shorter than the single bond, and it is rigid and planar. Rigid and planar. So this partial double bond feature has allowed us to determine that the free rotation is possible between which atoms. So in the amino acid, the free rotation. If we talk about the free rotation of bonds, free rotation. So due to the partial double bond feature, C alpha and the nitrogen of amide group cannot freely rotate. Nitrogen of amide group. So free rotation is not possible between the alpha carbon and the nitrogen of the amide group, but the free rotation is possible between the alpha carbon and the carboxylic group, and between the alpha carbon and the amide group. So this is the first characteristic of the peptide bond, that it possesses the partial double bond characteristics and it is rigid and planar. It gives the rigid and planar shape. Now we will move on to the second feature of the peptide bond. That what is the second feature of the peptide bond? The second feature of the peptide bond is that the peptide bond tends to remain in the trans configuration commonly. Peptide bond tends to remain in the trans configuration in normal situations. So how it tends to remain in the trans configuration, I will show you by drawing the structure. So this is the trans configuration which a peptide bond possesses normally. But sometimes due to the steric hindrance between the side chains of the amino acids, this peptide bond actually shifts from trans phase to the cis phase. How it occurs? I will show you. C alpha and R. So this is the trans phase, which is the this configuration it actually occurs in the normal situations, and this is the cis phase. So due to the steric hindrance between the amino acids, the peptide bond shifts towards the cis phase, cis configuration, and in the normal situation it actually adopts the trans configuration. So this is the second feature of the peptide bond. Now I would like to tell you about the third feature of the peptide bond, that the peptide bond is actually uncharged, but it is polar. We know that it is uncharged but polar. C double bond O groups and NH groups in the amino acid are uncharged. So the sole charge groups present in the amino acid is the N-terminal amide group, C-terminal carboxylic group, and side chains of the amino acids. So these are the sole charge groups, while the other C double bond O and NH are uncharged. But as we have mentioned that these are polar, so these actually form the hydrogen bonds between them. C double bond O, and so hydrogen bond is formed between the oxygen and hydrogen of the. So due to this polarity that exists between the C double bond O and NH groups, it is able to form the hydrogen bonding. So this concludes our primary structure of the protein. Now I would like to tell you about the secondary structure of the protein and its features. Now we will move towards the secondary structure of the protein. So what is this secondary structure? Actually, secondary structure of the protein involves the, you can say, the pairing of amino acids which actually face towards each other, and secondary structure consists of the alpha helix. So I would like to tell you about what is the alpha helix. Alpha helix, it is the right-handed polypeptide strain that actually constitute the polypeptide backbone core, and it is actually stabilized by the hydrogen bonding between them. And in it, the L amino acids actually protrude outward from the central towards the sides, so in order to avoid the steric hindrance between the amino acids. So now I would like to tell you further about the alpha helix, that it is polypeptide strand that constitute the polypeptide backbone core. Polypeptide backbone core. And alpha helix is present, you can say, in every protein like keratin, hairs, and skin. So alpha helix is the common structure found in these proteins. So that is all about the alpha helix, which is the first structure of the secondary structure. Furthermore, the secondary structure consists of the beta sheets, beta turns, non-repetitive structures, and supersecondary structures, which we will talk later in this lecture. So, talking about now the hydrogen bondings in the alpha helix structure. So, hydrogen bonding is involved to stabilize the alpha helix, and the hydrogen bonding is actually present between the C double bond O and NH groups. Individually, the hydrogen bonding is weak, but collectively they contribute to form a very stabilized molecule. So, individually weak, collectively form a stabilized molecule. So that is all about the hydrogen bonding. Now talking about that, how many amino acids are present in each turn of the alpha helix. So 3.6 amino acids are present in each turn. 3.6 amino acids are present in each turn. Present in every turn. In each turn. And now I would like to tell you about the disruption caused by some of the amino acids in the alpha helix structure. So first of all, talking about the proline, which amino acids? Proline, they cause the disruption in the alpha helix. Proline, glycine, aspartate, and glutamate or glutamate. So, first of all, talking about the proline. Proline actually consists of the secondary amino group, due to which it makes a kink in the alpha helix and disrupts the alpha helix molecule. And talking about the glycine, glycine consists of the hydrogen, which is the additional hydrogen in the in its structure. So this also causes the disruption. And talking about the aspartate or glutamate, they actually possess the bulky R groups, due to which disruption is caused. So this concludes our secondary structure of the protein, and now we will talk about the tertiary structure and its features. So now we will, after discussing the alpha helix, now we will move towards the beta sheets. That what are the beta sheets? Beta sheets are actually, you can say, are formed by the components of the peptide bonds, and they look pleated because the alpha carbon is present above and below the beta pleated sheets. And now I will like to tell you about the formation, that how beta sheets are formed. These are formed by the coiling of the two polypeptide strands that are present laterally between the by the interaction of the amino group and the carboxylic group. And either they are present in the single polypeptide chain far apart, or they be or this bond, the bond between the beta strands, may be present between the different polypeptide strands. Furthermore, I would like to tell you about the beta sheets, that the beta strands either exist parallel or anti-parallel. So I would like to show that how they actually exist anti-parallel. Beta strands anti-parallel. So this is the whole beta strand. This is the N terminal, C terminal. And this is the C terminal and N terminal. So you can clearly see that this is the N terminal, and the other terminal, N terminal, is opposite to it. So both N terminal are opposite to each other. That's why they are said to be in the anti-parallel state. So these beta strands are in the anti-parallel state. Now talking about the parallel beta strands, that how parallel beta strands occur or exist, like this. This is the N terminal, this is the C terminal. So you can see that both N and C terminal are adjacent together, are on the same level. So you can say these are parallel beta strands. Now talking about what are the beta bands, which is the third element of the secondary structure of the protein. Talking about the beta band. Beta bands actually reverse the polypeptide strands. They reverse the polypeptide strands, and they are present on the charged proteins. So actually, what function does the beta band perform? Beta band actually, you can say, bind the beta strands, the anti-parallel beta strands. So beta bands actually functions to bind the anti-parallel beta sheets. And so we will write here that what is the function of the beta turns. Now we will talk about the beta bands. They actually binds the anti-parallel beta sheets. Anti-parallel beta sheets. And due to the binding of these anti-parallel beta sheets by the beta bands, a compact globular molecule of the protein is formed. So, and also I would like to add one more point in it, that beta bands are actually stabilized by the bonding between the first and the last residue. So beta bands are actually stabilized by the bonding between the first and last residue, by bonding between first and last residue. So that's all about the beta bands. Talking about now non-repetitive structures, that what are the non-repetitive structures. Actually, if I talk about the non-repetitive structure, I would like to tell you about some basic information that the global protein actually consists of the two types of structures. First half of the global protein constitute the repetitive structures like alpha helix and the beta sheets, while the other half consists of the non-repetitive structures, which are actually said to be the loops and the helix. So, non-repetitive structure. Non-repetitive structure. First half consists of the alpha helix and beta sheets, and they are well organized, well ordered. And the second half of the globular protein consists of the loops and helix. Loops and helix. Now talking about the supersecondary structures, that supersecondary structure of the secondary structure. So what are the supersecondary structures? Talking about supersecondary structures, we know that globular protein is formed by the different elements of the secondary structure, which are the alpha helices, beta sheets, and the beta coils. They actually join together to form a geometric pattern, which is said to be motifs. Motifs are the geometric patterns which are formed by the binding of the elements of the elements of the secondary structure, and these actually constitute the interior portion of the protein molecule. So that is all about the motif. And supersecondary structure are formed by the interaction between the side chains of the amino acid. Interaction between side chains of the amino acid. Side chains of amino acid. So this concludes our secondary structure.